Good morning, everyone, and welcome to May's office hours with the Garage Hive team. Just going to start through the normal steps of what we showed previously. So, bit of an agenda, the overview of the office hours. So it's a look back at what's recently been added into Garage Hive and what's currently being worked on, what we've got upcoming, and also a bit of a refresher on any forgotten features that may not be being used. The presentation itself will be recorded, but we will have an open discussion afterwards, which will not be recorded. So we obviously, as you all know, who's been in it previously, we've created this on the back of feedback from the community. It's just to try and keep as many of our users up to date with what's happening, and also have the opportunity to get feedback from them at the same time. So we're going to start with some recently added features. First one, last month or so, we added a feature that would help when posting job sheets. So it was stacked errors to try and alleviate having to go back into the document and make the changes individually. We have actually added some improvements to that recently. So now the resource check actually appears before the error page. So it gives you the opportunity to add any resources that may be missing from the labour lines. But we've also included some new checks for if the service type or the service advisors are missing from the document as well. The next one, we've added again some improvements to the auto data, the timing belt lookup. So it now shows greater level of detail around what the timing belt intervals are. But we've also added the action to allow you to set the dates, whichever one you decide to choose, as the due date. Another one which has been asked for quite some time is the calculated availability field of items. So it is going to be added in within the line checker, so you will get a warning if you haven't got available quantity as normal, as well as in the item list and the tyre lookup as well, which will include obviously any local or impress stock that is kept, as well as the item lookup pop-up as well. So underneath you can see sort of the calculations that we've tried to use, which will give you that calculated availability value. Another one, again, recently we deployed to everybody the fully booked slider. After that was tested for some time, we did get some feedback that it would be quite useful to be able to allow existing job sheets onto when the fully booked slider was on. So still having that restriction in place for any new jobs to be made. But if, for example, you've got a service in the morning, that you could then add another allocation for that same job in the afternoon if you had some additional work to be done on that job. This is a really cool feature that I'm quite excited about. So it's related document action in emails. So we have now, as you can see, added the option under the attachments to add related documents when sending out invoices or emails, for example, what you can include within that. So this one is sending out the invoice by default. But if you was to go to the related attachments and related documents, you can now also send the inspection as well as the inspection estimate as well. A couple of smaller sort of additional features that we've been working on. So we've added some additional accountancy setup limitations and restrictions in place on the user setup and user management fields. We've now filtered out the job sheet questionnaires, such as the diagnostic questionnaires, from the customer surveys that may have been appearing on your tiles. There is a new item lookup hierarchy. So historically, it would search in, if people are using catalogues in the background, it will search through the catalogues first and then going through your item list. Obviously, that was potentially causing a little bit of slowdown on that lookup. So we've now changed how that works. It now looks through your items and then we'll look for your catalogues secondly. And then there's the attention comments for any deposits that have been taken via an online payment, and also giving you the ability to see which customer that relates to. I think Reese briefly sort of touched on this recently. So the AAG integration, we have been in talks with them, and I know there was quite a lot of interest on the community. So if you've not already been contacted, you will be doing very shortly on getting that set up for you. Okay, so now moving on to what's currently in progress or testing. So I know this will excite quite a few of you. It's the ability to create purchase orders from estimates and VIEs. So not too much to sort of see from the image, but it'll be very similar to how you would create a purchase order from a job sheet. So you've got the parts button along the top, and within there now you have the ability to actually create the purchase order. And then within the purchase order, you can see that the purchase source type was actually from a VIE, so from an inspection estimate. That will also, if the estimates and or VIEs were converted into a job sheet, these orders will also get transferred and linked across into the job sheet as well. This one, you've probably seen it previously. We are still working on it with an outside contact to try and get the best possible sort of outcome for this development. So it is still being worked on at the moment. Again, Reese mentioned in the previous office hours that we've got Copilot, so it is still heavily being tested. And for those of you who are interested in taking a sneak peek, we are going to be at the UK Garage and Body Shop event over the next couple of days. So please pop by, say hello, and take a quick look at this really cool feature. Some other additional coming features, we are currently building a VRM database for Isle of Man customers, as well as working on the update on the online booking contact form, which also has the ability with the manual vehicle selection as well. Copying the text from surveys, so when a customer gives you any feedback on the surveys, the ability to potentially copy and paste that into a third-party review system. And finally, the automatic journal, which moves deposits from one customer to another, such as for people who are using payment assist, for example. That's something that has caused issues previously, so this should hopefully address and make that easier. So moving on to the ideas page, there are lots of real cool features, obviously, that have been added into the ideas page. There are a few that I will be contacting people over the sort of coming weeks to try and arrange another meeting just to discuss refinements of that, one of which is the access to previous advisories. So anybody who's voted on that particular development, I will be in contact. But one that we're going to pull through on this next sort of run of development will be one that's been sort of put through from Ian at Fedotti's. And it's where in the technician access on their tablets, they can currently access both the TPMS and also service indicator information, just to try and speed those processes up rather than going into the full auto data workshop application. What we're going to do with this one is add in the technical specifications section also into that list, which can hopefully make it easier. With this particular one is specifically for wheel talks. But what we do also have the ability to do is, this is another list of potential options that we can add into there. So when it comes to actually developing this ticket itself, what we'll probably be doing is putting a poll out on the community page to see if there are any other ones within this list that people might want to add at the same time. Finally, we've got the forgotten features. So couple of sort of small ones. So there's, for those of you who deal a lot with fleet companies or any company that might want to add a purchase order number to their invoices prior to them paying, some people have posted the document without adding that, and then they can be in dispute. Well, you can actually add an external system number to that document after it's been posted. but also if you are not aware that if you do have one of those customers who requires a purchase order on their invoices, there is also the ability within the customer card to make the external system number mandatory as well. So that's something, if you're not sure how to do that, please contact the support team, or we can ask afterwards and we can go through that. And lastly, it's the internal surveys. I don't know how many people are using it, but as you can imagine, as an employer, it's just a real good way. We get feedback from our customers using NPS. It's just a really good way of getting regular feedback from our staff members on how they're feeling and any sort of potential areas of where we could make their lives easier. Thank you all very much for your time, and we will now stop the recording and go into the question and answers session.